Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 41 of the Red Sea podcast. Of course, this is the technically second episode today. If you haven't caught up to the game, quote unquote, analysis of the EuroLeague derby that I did post as a pre recorded episode earlier today, do go catch up to that. But finally, I have Gab with me. How are you, man?
Good, man. Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. The schedule's not lining up and me traveling, but good to be back, and it's a good game to come back to today. The big win over Paok.
Ah, it looks like my audio is off again.
Yeah,
I've been having some issues, to say the least, um, that I really don't know how to fix. So you keep going for a bit. I'll be right back.
got it. Yeah, so obviously once Dennis gets back with audio, we'll be getting into the match today. Obviously, a really big derby win against Paok. Personally, I would say that it was our best derby performance of the season, probably our best domestic performance of the season, um, because I think the scoreline and the performance, the scoreline was pretty kind to Pauk. I mean, any other day, Olympiacos could have easily scored five or six. Podolski made probably six or seven really good saves, and there were some near misses in there as well. I think that Pauk, as we've seen with them in Europe, for those that watch the Greek teams like I do, uh, really struggling. Don't look like the team that we've seen the past several seasons. So it's really good that we were able to capitalize on that. Obviously, the big story of today is going to be Babis Kostulas getting his first senior goal for Olympiakos. He probably could have had one or two more. He had a very good performance before he was subbed off. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think outside of some defensive frailties, which we've kind of seen uh, be a pattern recently, Olympiacos looked very solid today, especially going forward. Gelson Martins, Chiquinho both had really good matches, a goal and three assists between them. And then obviously, as mentioned, Babis Kostulas, Ayuba Kabi, both getting on the score sheet. Both of them made a nuisance of themselves and really just punished Pauk for a lot of very lackadaisical midfield and defensive play. And I think that it's a great momentum win going into the international break. Obviously, a lot of these guys will get a much needed rest. Some will be with the Ethniki, like Babis Kostulas. I mean, sorry, Christos Mousakidis, not Babis Kostulas, getting his first call up. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets any minutes. Probably not against England, but you would anticipate against Finland he'll probably get his debut. Um, and yeah, I think it sends us into the break with a lot of positives. And still waiting on Dennis. Let me see if I've got any messages. Hopefully he finds his way back in soon. So I mean, I guess just getting into the match, it started off pretty shaky for Olympiacos. Pauk were applying a lot of pressure, and I think defensively we just looked kind of out of it. There were a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of kind of silly mistakes. Um, but Pauk really didn't manage any clear cut big chances out of that. And Olympiacos, probably by the 15th, 20th minute, really settled in and started applying a lot of their own pressure. Babis Kostulas had a very good header that was saved brilliantly by Kotarski, which could have easily been his first goal. And you had a few other chances mixed in there. But the next really big one was obviously the goal for Babis Kostulas. A very, very nice chip from Chiquinho, and it was kind of similar to the first chance he had, which was saved by Kotarski. Just kind of like that glancing header to the far post as he was kind of coming across goal, and it was a great goal. What a place and an opponent to get your first senior goal against, um, and really capping off what was a fantastic performance from him. Even outside of that goal, he definitely could have scored more tonight and just looked dangerous. Uh, throughout, even playmaking, before he scored that goal, in between those two big chances, he had a really nice run through the middle to set up, I believe it was Gelson Martins. Uh, Obviously, the chance didn't come to anything. Here is Dennis. Let's see if he has audio. Can you hear me?
I've done it.
There we go. Managed to rig it up.
I don't know why this app just completely freaks out when two people try and join. Thank you for tanking these first 5 minutes.
No problem.
I do want to build on a point that I did hear you say, because thankfully I had the mind to have the the stream on the laptop to see if everything is okay, which does cover moments like this, of course. Uh, Heading into this national break, it will be very, very interesting to see what happens with Mozakitis. Uh, I do actually semi disagree and think that he will get like a good 10 to 20 against England. I don't
I
see
think
why not.
I think it depends on how the match is going. I mean, I would start him personally, but that's obviously me and my bias and just thinking that he's probably our best box to box midfielder as far as Greeks go. I think you and I have talked. I forget if it was you and I or someone else. I would start him over Bakasetas. I don't think Bakasetas is very good right now at all. He's in poor form for club. He hasn't been great for the Ethniki either. Um, I think it just depends on how the match goes. You know, if we're down or it's like, the game is, conclusively decided by a late stage, then you might see him get a cameo. But I don't know. I don't have any high expectations for him getting significant playtime.
Uh, I think any playtime will be better than no playtime in this case, but he definitely has to, I'd say, play against Finland, right? If I'm not completely
Yeah, I
mistaken.
mean, that match he should start. I mean, regardless of what happens in the England game, that Finland game will probably be a dead rubber. So why would you not start him? It's not even like a kind of charity, give this young kid a chance. Like, he genuinely deserves to play. So I
I
think he'll.
think Mendilibar himself said it best that he has worked and earned this
Yeah,
more than most people. Yeah, he will probably go with experience. I don't disagree. But if, at least if the match does end up going in our favor, I really don't see why he shouldn't get like a 10 to 20 minutes near the end.
yeah. I mean, I think it'll just depend on how the match is going. England are going to have a lot of their own injury issues. I think I saw somebody say that there's rumors that Trent and Bukayo Saka will not be able to play against Greece. So, I mean, England might have some issues in the midfield, depending on what personnel they have. So, who knows? I hope he does, but I'm just not really expecting a whole lot there.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely see. That's the thing. I saw you did talk about like a good 4 minutes about our performance in general, but there is, of course, someone I personally want to focus on, and that, of course, is our now youngest ever goal scorer in the league, and I think in
Really?
general as well, and that's Babis Kostoulas, of course. Younger than Oforikwe, if I'm not mistaken, by a couple of months, breaking the record for a couple of months.
Did Papadopoulos, Kyriakos Papadopoulos, did he score a goal early on in his? Because I know he made his debut at 15.
I'm pretty sure he was
Let me
18
see.
when he first scored.
Okay, I could
No,
be. He
no,
was the only one.
I am dead sure that Babis is now our youngest goal scorer because Both the commentator said it and Greek media have been all over it. Uh,
You are right. Kyriakos Papadopoulos didn't score until his last season with Olympiacos, so it definitely
mm,
wasn't. It's 2010, so yeah, he was 18.
he was either 18 or 19. Yeah, yeah, he's just younger than. And what a goal! Because I don't think you did manage to get into details before I came back about the game. So, can we talk about from the past to how great, how impressive that guided header was to the back of the net?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of talking about it while you were gone. I mean, he easily could have scored a very similar goal like 5 or 10 minutes before that one went in. Um, I mean, it was like an El Kabi type of run in behind the defense off the shoulder of the defender. Fantastic chip from Chiquinho, which we're used to at this point. But he has all of the right instincts. Really, the part that impressed me the most about that goal was the run that he made and being in that position to receive that ball. That's something that guys 5, 10 years older than him struggle to master, and here he is at 17. I mean, doing it like a pro.
I don't think there was a more perfect definition of timed so perfectly because literally the only thing that was covering him was Baba Rahman's foot, if I'm not that mistaken. So, of course, he could have scored more. I'd argue he would have scored more if he didn't get subbed off. I don't know why he got subbed off, given how a national team break is following, but that's a whole different story. Uh, but we're definitely gonna see a whole different player now that he's finally gotten his goal. And speaking of finally gotten his goal, Zelson finally scored.
Very nice finish. Speaking of timing your run perfectly, I don't know what it is about our squad. By the way, I mean we've seen it with Jelson. We saw it with Babis Constru last week. You've seen it 17,000 times with El Kabi. I don't know what Mendilibar does with this team in training to get them to time their run so perfectly. Because I mean that goal was beautiful from the timing of the run to the touch in front of him with a player bearing down and then a perfect finish past Kotarsky, who was having a really good game. I mean, yeah, that just kind of sums up the attacking play I think we saw from Olympiacos today. Was very clinical, very direct, which we did not see. Yeah, there's that as well. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Chiquinho because it was a very good ball. First time once he did get the
Paok's
deflection, but
defense
Pauk,
aside, Otto was
Pauk
a shit show today.
Pauk's entire
Let's
team is
not
a
lie.
shit show. I mean, they are. I'm sorry. Usually, I wouldn't come out and say this, but like, they are a very bad team. They're a very bad team in Europe. They're struggling in Greece now. I mean, I really would be shocked if Pauk are in any sort of title race this season. I think that is the fourth team that's going to bring up the rest once we get into the championship group.
I
They
mean,
looked
at
awful
this
today.
rate, if they continue like this, I'd say they're in danger of missing the top four as well.
I mean, I think I don't think anyone else, and maybe I don't know. I'm trying to think now because Addis is in the top four, so one of the big teams would miss it because we're going to that 14 championship group now. Uh, they could.
Yeah,
I
this is the biggest probability.
Yeah, I mean, both of those teams, I think, are in a very similar position as far as like they just both look horrible right now. Um, I'm surprised that Lucescu hasn't been fired yet. If I'm honest, I mean,
I
Pauk have
think
looked
they're
really.
waiting. I think they're waiting until he's back from the ban. They give him like one or two more games, and then they'll send him off.
Maybe, but I mean, I don't think they look any worse than they did before he was banned. So it's like I don't know how much
I
of a difference that's making.
I think they look more unorganized. If that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, this is the same team that lost at home to 10 men Stowa. Well, he was on the sideline. I mean, this isn't, to me at least. It's I don't think it's anything new with Paok. I mean, I think personnel wise, they're not a very good team, and I think just tactically, you could say maybe that was part of it today, but it's just like I think to a certain extent, his fingerprints are already all over this team. Him not being with the team for a couple games, they're not really going to play that differently with him being on the sideline. It's the same system. It's just they don't have him barking orders.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. This is something I pointed out last time, is that Selson, every time he manages to take a sort of, he just lands on his ass. And I couldn't figure out why for the life of me, and finally he did it.
They must have had
Um,
some really dry turf at Tumba tonight or something.
the tears of the Paok fans will ruin it again. This is also a big possibility knowing Savidis.
Yeah, I mean, I could see I could see that, or I could just see them sticking it out with him just because he's been with the club for so long. I don't know. Personally, I think that they need somebody new in because clearly he's kind of hit a wall with where he's going to take this team. But maybe that's just me. There's also that financial aspect as far as when teams plan to fire coaches. We just saw with Manchester United. I mean, teams are going to nowadays try to wait as long as they can to not have to pay out a contract for a guy that they're firing.
It's, I feel like this is a spiral that Pauk have been stuck in ever since their last league. That Razvan wins a league, he has a very mediocre season after, he goes for a year and comes back.
Yeah,
I feel like this is just the death spiral that uh, that Pauk are stuck in. Also, performance wise, I know you did talk about it a bit, but of course, I want to throw my comment in there as well. What a game by Chiquinho. Now that he's not playing at the 10, finally.
out wide
Fine.
or in midfield, he can do so much with another almost like playmaker to work off of. I mean, I also want to touch on the fact that he's been playing every game for us. I'm surprised his legs haven't fallen off. He's doing this season what Satyako Eze was doing last season, where it's just like he's always in the lineup and he doesn't seem to drop his level or his fitness. So I'm really glad that he gets an international break because obviously he won't be playing for Portugal. So I'm glad that he gets to take a break and hopefully put his feet up for at least a few days. But he's just been incredible. He had the assist on Thursday. He had two really, really smart assists today. I mean, he is such a steal for us, that we got him last season and that we got him permanently because he is.
We got him, if I remember correctly, we didn't even, we were supposed to get him on a free in the summer, but I think we paid some thousands to get him in earlier.
Yeah, this was the confusion I had. I remember we talked about it on the show last season, one of the first episodes. I thought he was on loan because I heard all these conflicting reports when we signed him.
The transfer reports of this team are insane. I'm
How
pretty sure we paid and got him in earlier.
Yeah, we
Pretty
did.
sure.
I mean, there was a lot of confusion around it just because it was like, is he coming on a free? He was supposed to come in the summer, and then all of a sudden he was coming in the January window. So, however it happened, I'm really glad it did because he is a huge part of this team, and especially when you lose a lot of the guys like Kostas Fortounis, like Andre Ocha, like Daniel Potenzi, him stepping up and being even more of a playmaker this season than he was last year has just been huge for us.
Another person that's fully stepped up, and I did give him the praise that I think he deserves to have, and I do want to do it once again on the show, is Costinha.
He was our best
Costinha
defender today.
did the best he could to cover a gap of arguably our best or one of our best, most consistent players of the past few seasons. and at least defensively, he did it, I think, as perfectly as we could have asked of him. And as you said, and I agree as well, he was by far our best defender today. Even though Rechos, once again, very consistent this season, very good, but Costinha was just incredible today.
Yeah, I mean he was winning the physical battles. I mean, I think towards the end of the game, you saw a lot of the Paok attackers getting really frustrated. Uh, yeah, I mean, he just kept going, very like businesslike, and just like he wasn't getting phased by the environment or the antics. I mean, towards the end, every time he would get in a 50-50 with a Paok player, they were going down, they were grabbing their face, this and that. I mean, Costa Terias, as talented of a player as he is, a shameful display in diving. I mean, there was one where Costina gets to the ball before him and kicks it out, and he goes down grabbing his face and like all that. I mean, I think they were just trying to draw fouls towards the end because they couldn't get past it.
Him and Zivkovic.
Oh my god! I mean, the entire Paok team, they've always been like this. They're very irritating individuals, and they try to play into yeah. I mean,
How? How?
it was just unlucky. He was doing what he was supposed to do, and I think it barely went in. Any other day that he probably clears that out. Like I was saying before you were fully on, I think this is a very generous scoreline to Pauk. 2-3 does not tell the story of this match. I mean,
The only reason that the scoreline is the way it is Dominic Kotarski.
I mean, if they had, you know, even a slightly worse keeper, I think we probably scored 5 or 6. I mean, some of the saves that he made, especially
Kostulas alone scored 2 or 3. If it
yeah.
was before.
Well, I mean, even after the third goal, I mean, we started putting a lot of pressure again, and there was probably like a 5-minute span where we had 4 or 5 shots on target, and he was just right there for all of them. Yeah, I mean, it really could have. I mean, like, I think 3-2. Both goals for Pauk, I think, kind of were fortunate breaks. Obviously, the first goal, it was good movement from Costa Telias, and it took a couple of defenders out. I mean, I forget who it was, but there were a couple of Olympiacos players who basically tripped over each other, and that opened up this massive gap.
Pretty sure it was Carmo Pirola.
It might have been. I mean, it all happened pretty fast, but I mean, that was, an unfortunate break for us because, takes 2 defenders out, and then here's Baba Rahman, who is Pauk's best player by a mile, standing by himself to slot home. And then the second goal, obviously, just really unfortunate for David Caramo. He had a tough game. I really wouldn't blame him too much for that own goal because it's a very normal play. He has to put his foot there or Tisudali scores, and he very nearly cleared it. You're probably right. I mean, do you see the chance he missed against United? I mean, 10 feet from goal, 1-on-1, and he puts it wide. I mean,
he couldn't be more 1-on-1.
Yeah. So maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe Kadamo should have just let it run through, and he would have skied it from inside the 6-yard box, knowing him. But yeah, I mean, I think honestly, a lot of things went Pauk's way today to make sure that this wasn't
a blowout.
Yeah. This was.
I mean, they haven't won at home. I think the commentator said 4 games now.
Yeah, I mean, they've lost 2 in Europe. They lost to us, and then didn't they lose to Aris?
Ofi. And that.
That's right. Aris was away. Was Aris away, or was it at home?
One of those was away. I think Aris was away.
Yeah. So I don't. Either way, they're horrible form. I mean, I just do not think they're a good team. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a much better performance than the scoreline showed, which is kind of the opposite of Thursday, where I thought that we probably were lucky to get a draw based on how sloppy we were.
I said this on the show as well. a point against Rangers when the team were that bad is not a bad result.
Not at all. I mean, especially considering you look at, Paok and Panathinaikos. I mean, that 1-1 draw at home with Rangers is better than any result either of them have gotten in Europe so far in the group
No,
stages.
by far as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, compared to them, where that, and that's why like it was frustrating on Thursday, but I was like, you know what? You take that, you're going to have those down performances. It was great to see them really rally back today and just play probably 10 times better than they did, a few days ago, and get a really deserved win at a place that we've struggled. I mean, I can count on one hand how many times we've beaten Paok in Tumba in the past 10 years. Like it doesn't happen a lot.
These are correct. Both of these games were at home for
So
Paok.
who else did they lose to?
They
Because they only lost
lost.
to two matches in Europe. So that was Stawa, or they didn't lose. They didn't lose to Pilsenia, but that still doesn't count as a win. So
Yeah,
who's
it
the
wasn't
other?
that it wasn't that they had lost. It was that they hadn't won at home.
So who did they draw at home in the league then?
In
Because
the
there's
league,
only
no, Ike is away. Yeah, actually, hold on. How did they draw?
yeah, there's only two in Europe.
It's us today. It's Plzen that they drew. It's Offi and it's Aris. That's four.
Really? So they had another win at home between the Stawa match.
At home, who did they beat? Uh, no, they just haven't had any more. They had away games. They haven't had any
So
more
does
home
that
games.
mean it's five then? Because
It's Aris. It is five.
yeah, because they lost to Stawa
Yeah, it's Aris. It's
at
Stawa.
CSB.
It's Plzen. It's us, and it's Offi. Yeah, it is five.
I mean, that is like last season Olympiakos form. That's how bad Paok are right now.
This was a gift. The Ike Paok draw was a gift.
I mean, to be fair, I don't want to be rude at all, but I mean, Ike lost to Noah, who just held 8. So I think Ike have improved a lot since then. But
Ike thankfully improved after the Paok game.
yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of that kind of topsy turvy form for all of these Greek sides. I mean, even Olympiacos, we've had our stretches where we've looked really bad. I mean, some of the losses we've had this season, I don't think anybody really has, conclusively hit form. And every team has some really bad losses they can look back on. And that's why this title race is so close. I mean, I saw some people on Twitter like, oh, the Greek league, it's like it's heating up. And it's like, really, I think it's just because every team has been unable to really just string together a run of form.
It's the
And
league of
separate.
missed opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even in Europe for the most part, I mean, that's why kind of what I was getting back to as far as, Olympiacos and that Rangers result really not being that bad. Because if you look at every other Greek team, I mean, it's worse from there. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I was hoping by now we would have more of that consistent form. We haven't hit that yet. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm concerned about it, but you kind of wonder like, okay, we're into November now. The team you would think should be at the point where we could go on a run.
I think, as much as it doesn't really quote unquote show, I think we needed this break. I
Yeah, and I
really
mean,
think we needed this break.
I can't remember how we went into the last international break, but
With
I mean,
the back-to-back losses, no?
I think so. So I mean, hopefully that carries over. Who do we have? Because I remember we have like a really tough
Ike.
Yeah, this was that run of games that they're talking
The
about.
literal top of the league deciding game. That's immediately.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, okay, after Ike, we do have an easier run. Obviously,
We have.
Stauer,
I am scared of that game. To be
yeah,
totally openly fair,
um,
that game is
they
scary.
they just won again at home against Midtjylland. They literally scored right off of I don't know if you've seen this goal. They scored right off of second half kickoff. Midtjylland plays it back to their goalkeeper. He tries to boot it up the field. It comes off of the Bielitsia guy who scored against Paok, and he basically walks it into the net. That's going to be a tough match. But
I've I've seen it. I fully touched on it on the previous show, and I said that I would have loved to get the win against the Rangers because now we sort of go to Romania with not necessarily a need, but kind of a duty to win, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think after a match with Ike, I would take a draw. Obviously, I want to win, but I mean, Stala, they're top 8 right now in the Europa League,
They're
if I'm
eighth,
not
two
mistaken.
points
Yeah,
ahead of us.
I mean, they're clearly a much better team than we all judge them to be. So I think that'll be a tough match. But I mean, after that, it's Offi, it's Calithea, it's Volos, it's
No,
Twente.
after that, it's up until Twente, we may as well play or beat him.
Yeah, I mean, I really think we go on a run here where we don't have another really tough match until Porto at the end of January. So this should be our opportunity. Obviously, the Ike match will be really tough, but in Greece, I mean, by the end of the January window, we should be top of the league with some separation with the schedule that we have.
We need, if all goes well and if we beat Ike, I think it's not that you should go on a run, it's that you have to go on a run. Because
Yeah,
if you beat Ike and go top alone, you have the opportunity to, as you said, run away with it. You
exactly.
can
And I mean,
run away with it.
after this kind of nice run that we have another really tough week of football where we play Porto away, we play Panathinaikos at home, and then we play Karabakh at home, all in 7 days. So
Christ above.
you really want to make sure that you can run up the score between now and then. Obviously, I mean, if we can get 4 points out of Twente and Stala, that would put us on 11. I mean, basically, that means that you just need to win like one more match out of Karabakh and Porto to,
For me, you definitely need to get the home games, which are Twente and Karabakh. And for
yeah.
me, you need to win one of the away ones to be just totally, totally sure.
Hopefully, somebody comes in for Samu in January because if we have to play him,
I forgot. I forgot. I
I mean,
forgot about him.
he's a menace. I do not want to need to go to Porto. Yes, but still, I mean, all those guys, we're talking about January. So even if we do bring in 2 or 3 new players, they're going to need time to acclimate. How many guys are just going to walk into your side? Um, so
It
I still
depends.
think
Honestly.
it depends, but I mean, you don't want to wager on that. I think that we really do need to have like a really good next couple of months, just so that that's not a concern. I think as far as Europe is concerned, we really need like 5 or 6 more points to assure knockouts, and I think we'll get that. So I'm not concerned about us making the knockout rounds, but you do want to push for that top 8 and hopefully try to get a bye because you don't want to have to play that additional knockout round.
Yeah, I think I more or less thought it self-evident as bitchy as that may sound that we need to get the top 8 because that knockout can just end your European run like this.
Yeah.
Given who is surprised, because if I'm not completely mistaken, Porto are like down in the 29th position,
Let
and
me.
Karabakh are around 31st, if I'm not that
So
insanely mistaken.
Porto are in 22nd. They have one
Ah,
win, one
22nd.
draw, and one loss. Trying to see who they've lost to. So they lost away to Boda. They lost away to Lazio. They drew United at home, and they beat Hoffenheim at home. So they've had a really tough schedule, to be fair. So that 22nd is kind of deceiving because they've played all really tough teams. And then you are correct about Karabakh. They have one win and three losses, and their only win is away to Bodo.
I was talking about this 2 days ago and I already forgotten. Uh, what else did I want to say? I talked about this last show building up to this, and I did talk about this on the socials. Do you think we'll see Oliveira again?
I mean, he's obviously going to be around. I think any chance of him being an important player for us is probably gone. Not that I think that he's looked horrible. He just hasn't looked good. A player I think I'm more concerned on is Willian. What the hell has gone on with him? I mean, he was watching Chelsea Arsenal today at home. I mean,
Was
he
he?
he posted it on his story.
I fully missed it.
So apparently we just have terrible luck with Afro Brazilians with the
How
big
did we
hair.
find Gustavo Scarpa Vol 2? How?
And we found Marcelo part two. I mean,
It's Gustavo's ignorance with Marcelo's injuries.
yeah. Well, Marcelo's injuries was him not wanting to get off the couch and stop stuffing his face so that he could get match fitness. Um, Willian, I don't know what his
Marcelo's
issue is.
injury time.
I don't know what his I don't know what's going on with Willian. That one is I think more concerning to me because he's probably on significant wages and we
He's
haven't
at
seen
3.5, if I'm not mistaken. Oliveira is
and
at 4.
yeah, I mean both of those are terrible contracts. Was Willian, is that a 2-year contract? How long did we sign him for?
1. Maybe 1+1, but I'm pretty sure it's 1. Agreed. 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 I openly said I said it to Steve as well from the last football guys that I don't want to see Oliveira again, and I don't want to see, as controversial as that is, I don't want to see Velte again.
You you don't want to see Velde.
I'd drop him down to third choice winger. I'd play Papakalev or
I
Kosuda.
mean, I agree with that. I still think Velde has a place in the rotation. I mean, he hasn't had the same form that he had in preseason, but he's still shown that he can at times contribute to this team. Um,
I'll phrase that better. I don't want to see him in important games.
yes, I would agree with that. So I think you and I are in alignment there. I mean, Oliveira,
No,
I
Oliveira, I
just
don't want to see at all. That's
I
what
know.
I'm not
I don't think that he fits the system at all. I mean, I don't think you can have a midfielder who's playing in an advanced role be as slow as he is. I think that's his biggest problem because it's okay if it's like an Iborra or even a Dani Garcia where they're not very fast, but they're playing in the holding midfield, so that can work. You can't if you're the 10, you have to be able to press along with the striker in Mendilibar's system, and Oliveira can't do that. So I think it's the biggest issue with him is just the fit for the play style. I mean, half of our guys are technically Nottingham players, so that's probably part of it.
I mean, that's the same with Velde as well. Like, we are asking of Velde to be the winger that Potence was when Velde's biggest positive, I'd argue only positive, but that's a different thing, is his finishing ability.
His
Because
finishing ability, and I
Velde's
think
shooting is great.
and
Like,
I think that he brings a better physical presence than Potence did. I mean, he's 6 foot tall. He's pretty strong. But yeah, he's not going to be the kind of techie, pacey player that Potence was, or that even Gelson Martins or Rodine are. So I mean, I think these are just growing pains that you're going to have with new players in important spots. I think it's super unfortunate that Yazici got injured right away because who knows what he could have offered. I think he could have been a much better fit than Oliveira, but we'll probably never
I
know. And
believed in that transfer. So I told you as well, I believed in that transfer way more than you did.
yeah, I mean, I hope that because he's only 28, I hope he can come back and like be. I mean, Fortunis came back from 2 of those injuries, so you hope that he can bounce back and maybe be an important piece next season. But yeah,
So
that's the
that scenario is done. I missed that.
did he was he injured? Why did it take so long?
Up until a point, he was. After that, there were just talks of him wanting to leave. Don't know if he'll stay, stuff like
Yeah,
that. But now he can't play for another team. So that's done, at least for a year.
he can't play. He didn't play any official matches for us.
He played for Wolves, though.
In official, oh, he did. You're right. He played in the Premier League. That sucks.
That's
That
too.
sucks.
Yeah, that's done. Yeah, but he was injured for a while, and then he didn't know if he had a place in the team or not.
Yeah. Has Fortunis
Uh,
played yet?
I fully agree with this. I just don't want to start that convo again because I've stated that convo so much this season.
No,
But I
but
fully agree.
I think that you've had guys step up, though. I mean, I think where Olympiacos is at from a squad perspective, I think we're fine. There's always going to be. I mean, I think we're kind of chasing perfection as far as what we had last season. Again, we had a 40-man squad that was built by 3 different managers. Like, of course, you're going to have insane depth, and you're going to have all these players in all these different positions. Uh, you're usually always going to have squad holes, and uh, it's a progressive thing of trying to fill those and finding players in your squad that maybe hadn't gotten as much of a chance. I think one of the positions that we talked about was left back with Apostolopoulos. I thought he was very solid on Thursday. I thought he looked good again when he played today, which is obviously much more of a cameo. Pirola can play there. So, I mean, I think that's one example of, sometimes it's just finding where guys fit, maybe out of their natural position, uh, and just making do with it. But I mean, I think
I
from a
don't
squad, go
I
ahead.
don't want to force Pirola to play left back.
No, I think the reason he played there today is obviously Ortega is injured and Apostolopoulos just played on Thursday. So, I mean, you want to make sure you have as fresh legs as possible for a high intensity match like this. But I mean, it's good to know that you have 3 guys who can play that position, and I think we do.
I fully agree with you, but again, I still think that Pirola is the perfect Carmo backup, as much as
Yeah,
people may disagree with that, because I can't believe we're criticizing a centre back for playing mediocre at left back. I went on a rant last time out, won't go on the same rant again, but I still think the issue with this squad is, as you said, as we are, we're fine. That's why I don't think we need to bring in players. I think we need to replace players.
well, I think to get to your point, look at some of the signings that we brought in towards the end, kind of rushing it through. Willian, Oliveira, Yazic. I mean, obviously Yazic is super unfortunate. The other two, just straight up have not panned out because we were just trying to fill players in the squad. So that sort of
Both
approach,
1 year, thankfully.
yeah, I mean, but point being is like just rushing to fill players and just like, oh, we got to grab them up. Like a lot of times you're going to bring in guys that are just not worth it.
That's fully your opinion. That's just your opinion stated by a different person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we do either. I think you kind of said it well that like we would have liked to see him go out on loan. But
I'd
I
still do
think
that.
I don't know. I mean, I think him being because he's like what 22 now, 21 or
21,
22.
2.
I
Let me
mean,
actually check.
he's kind of past that point of where I think a loan is going to do a lot of good for him because he's probably where he's going to be developmentally. He's 21.
I still think that he can improve off of. I'm not saying that he is 21. Yeah, you're right. Uh, I'm not just saying like send him off like how we send some people like on a 2 year loan to an Astromitos or something. Just
Kutris.
give him. That's a story. Uh, give him 6 months regular game time at maybe even a relegation fight in like a Olympiakos or a Volos or a Calcea.
I would
Uh,
disagree with that. I don't think he's going to get anything meaningful out of playing for a team that's losing 5-0 every week. I think if
yeah,
you loan him out in Greece, you should send him to like an Asteras or an Ofi. I would not send him to one of these bottom
yeah,
tiers.
he'd play for Ofi. He'd learn from uh, the coach. I forgot, I blanked on the name for some reason.
Or you loan him somewhere like the Netherlands.
Yeah, the Tsimikas treatment. You give
Yeah,
him
I
to
mean,
a Willem or
or
a
I mean,
Vitesse or
how many Greek players have gone to the Netherlands or like the Zweite Bundesliga? Like you're seeing with why am I forgetting his name? The
Jimas.
young Zimas, Zolis, Mavropanos. I mean, even Kutris played there for a while. Just to get back to him, if we're loaning him in Greece, if we do loan him, obviously this is all very hypothetical. I would either loan him to like a mid-table side, or I would look elsewhere because I mean he's not going to. There's not going to be good training facilities at any of those lower level clubs. He's not going to be. I mean,
I more
playing.
thought playtime, honestly, but he'd play at Hanofi. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I still think we should keep him here. I think he should get more time domestically. I think again, to avoid injuries like what we've seen with Ortega, Ortega should be playing in the really important domestic games, and he should be playing in Europe. If we're playing Califea or a Olympiacos, there's no reason why Francisco Ortega should be starting for us. It
I
should be
mean,
Apostolopoulos.
in the Califea Olympiakos and games like that, I still insist, and I will insist every time that in general it should be the kids playing.
100%. I mean, you'll sprinkle in your experienced players, obviously, because you need that glue to hold the team together. But we've seen it, and I'm not going to get impatient with Mendilibar because he's been giving these young guys a lot of chances, like we've seen today with Kostulas getting the chance to start and getting his first goal. But I do want to see more of it. And I think that's a perfect spot for a guy like Apostolopoulos rather than loaning him out somewhere where he could get hurt or he's going to play on a bad team and not really grow.
If he gets the time, yeah, I'm fully with you.
Yeah.
I mean, Mendilibar, of course, you have to give credit to Silaidopoulos as well, who, after
Yeah.
Muzakitis, is the first one that congratulated Kostulas for his goal. He is the safe hands that a generation like that needed, and the guaranteed game time that generation like that needed. Uh, but yeah, if it goes like that, because I am still trying to transition from the Olympiacos that is taking its academy seriously to the Olympiacos that we were that is just throwing academy players left and right and burning them out completely. So yeah, maybe we don't need the left back. Going back to today, really quickly, because of another thing that we technically build up with all the transfers and stuff. I do have an unpopular opinion about this team, and I will keep defending that unpopular opinion. Danny Garcia isn't bad for us, and he showed that today as well. Danny Garcia does the dirty work of the team, and he does it way better than some clear out sixes because Danny Garcia is the definition of a six for me. And he's proving that, of course, he should be nowhere near the starting 11 in general, but he can do it. He can even do it in some big games as a backup, with, of course, his main positive being the massive experience he has and the connection that he has already with Medilibar. And he can be that experience, to go back to your point, he can be that experience that you said that you should sprinkle in a Califea, in general, mid-table to lower table. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I didn't have any issues with his performance today. Like you said, he's not an out and out starter for us. And even when he does play, he's not going to do anything spectacular, but he's going to do all the little things that your team needs, at
And
least to a.
I hope he's okay, by the way, and he's not out again for like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, that we'll see. I was hoping that was kind of just him trying to slow the game down and waste
No,
some
no,
time, but
it's an injury. It's a proper injury.
yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully, it's just like a pull or something, and it's not serious, and he can be back after the break. Um, you know, I think players like him, and even I would say Stamenic, that a lot of people I think go way too hard on. They're not starters. Like you guys are judging them like they are a starter. They are not a starter. They are depth options. I think for what they are, they're completely fine for the squad. Obviously, I think Danny Garcia is better than Stamenic, but even today, Stamenic came in and at the end did fine to close the game out. Like that's what these guys are here for. It's not to start. It's not to So that's what I kind of agree with you as far as like you know. I don't understand why people get so reactionary about certain guys. This it's not El Cabi. It's not Chiquinho. These are not your top line players. So I don't understand why people get up in arms about how they play because you need guys like that, squad players that fill your team out because you can't start your starters every single game, especially when you have Europe, when you have the league, when you have a cup competition. It's not feasible. So I think, you look at us today compared to a team like Paok. Um, you know, Danny Garcia helped us win a midfield battle against a former Chelsea player and Ozdoyev, who's played all over. So it's not like we were playing some bums. Clearly, he can come in and he can play. I see you laughing because Bakayoko is very bad. I
I
don't know how. I don't know how he ever played for Chelsea.
I haven't been more grateful that the transfer got fucked up in paperwork.
He's he's so bad.
I'm so glad we didn't. What was it? 22?
I I don't remember. It could have been any of the past 3 or 4 years because that's the thing with him. He's been all over the place, just like our friend Madi Kamada. I'm so glad that he's found his level. I mean,
I
this is
was
what he.
mad. Like I
This
can't
is.
say I wasn't mad that he went about.
I wasn't mad. I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, dude, this is perfect for you. I mean, this is what he asked out for. He wanted to go to a big club. He he wanted to go to a big club. Today, I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a tirade. I almost fell out of my chair. I don't know if you were watching at the end. Like, it was probably like 85th minute. It was a throw in, and I think it was Baba Rahman throws the ball to Madi Kamara, who's standing on the sideline, and he goes to bring the ball down and taps it out of bounds. No pressure.
I saw it. I saw it. I saw it. I saw it.
that's the guy who wanted to force his way out to a big club. I mean, you can't write it. I'm so glad that he found them. They're made for each other.
I do want to focus on two questions that I saw. And I do want to focus on Pirola in general for a quick 2 minutes because I don't get how people put him in the same category of failed expectations of a transfer as they do Oliveira and Stamenic, for example.
He's 20. He's 20 or 21.
21, first of all. Secondly, I haven't seen. How long has it been since we've brought in a successful prospect at centre back and actually used him correctly?
I mean, the last time was probably Svetozar Markovic, who did turn out to be a very solid
Used
player.
him correctly is a very big.
Yeah, I mean, this is the difference between a Pirola and a Markovic is we didn't use Markovic. We didn't give him a chance to break into the squad. Again, you're not going to I don't know where these insane expectations come from that these guys are going to walk into the team and just be fantastic. I mean, you can even look at some of the young guys that we brought through our academy. I mean, even
I
Babis
mean,
Kostulas, as good as
to
I
be
think
fair,
he's
Pirola has been fantastic for me whenever he's played.
I agree. I mean, I think he's been very solid. I haven't seen a performance from him yet where I'm like, wow, this guy is not ready. I mean, I don't understand why some Olympiacos fans pick and choose when they want to be uppity about a player because I mean, I don't think Pirola at the start and like getting his way into the team. How many games has it taken it for Babis Kostulas to really be able to assert himself and really start to knock on the door of scoring a goal and scoring a goal? As good as he played, and I'm not saying he didn't play well, but it takes time. These guys have to acclimate. So I fully agree with you. I think that he absolutely should be part of the squad. You have a guy like David Carmo who's not probably going to be here next year. He's probably going to go to Nottingham. So you need to be, grooming him and getting him ready. And it's not going to be this perfect process because he's a young player. I feel
I
like people
mean,
think, go
you
ahead.
have his backup ready as well.
Yeah.
You
I
have
mean,
you have Kutsidis in the ranks for a reason.
Kutsidis and then after him you have Prekates. I mean, you have multiple guys that can come through in all these positions. So it's like people just need to calm down. We don't live in a perfect world. These guys are human beings. It takes time to acclimate. And like you said, I mean, I don't think he's been bad at all. Yeah, I fully agree.
And for me, he will. As you said, I don't see Carmo here next year. As big of a statement as it may be, with Pirola, Kutsidis, Prakates, and the list going on, honestly, down the ranks, perhaps Carmo shouldn't be here next year.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I
because,
mean,
go on, go.
I was gonna say, think about it this way, right? When we're hating on all these players, would a Danny Garcia or a Lorenzo Pirola would they start for Pauk? Would they start for Ike? Would they start for Panathinaikos? I mean, you could make an argument that they
Paok
probably
and
would.
Panathinaikos, both Ike Pirola.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of the thought process that I think people should think of more. You're putting him on a scale of Olympiacos being so. I mean, squad wise, are head and shoulders above a lot of these teams. So obviously, you're going to have certain players that are not going to be at Panos Eretsos. They're not going to be at David Carmo, and that's okay. And that doesn't mean they're not good enough to start for us. So I mean, I don't know. I think people need to apply perspective a lot more. I agree with you. I agree with George. There's nothing wrong with Piero
And
at all.
this is exactly your point. And this is exactly the point I make. I think we are on episode 41 now. I think there may have been 2 episodes where I haven't made this exact point that the Greek fan mindset is stupid.
It's
And again,
unhinged a lot of times.
I put myself in this. Like I'm not acting all innocent and above levels and anything like that. I've fallen for it so much. And I'm not over it completely, but as far away as I drag myself, force myself to put perspective, as you said, the more I say that it's just stupid to attack a player for most times no reason at all. Absolutely no reason at all.
I mean, again, it's the same people that have run how many different guys out of town that clearly were good enough to play for us. I remember a large contingent of Olympiacos fans thinking that Jose Sa wasn't good enough to play for us. The guy who went and
I
played,
remember that. I remember
and
that as well.
he's, I mean, really up until this season, been Wolves' starter in the Premier League and has been widely considered one of the best goalkeepers in the Prem. I mean, again, if that can't tell you that Greek football fans are insane sometimes, I don't know what will. I mean, that is, in my opinion, the best epitome of that point.
I mean, you don't have to really go far. Panos Rechos last season.
Yeah. I mean,
That
I even take responsibility. I thought that he was not good enough for us last season.
oh same, but this is exactly the point we're making.
Yeah. I mean, it happens to all of us. So like you said, we're all guilty of it. But yeah. I mean, I think sometimes you need to step back and be like, okay, like what are we actually talking about here? You know,
We're talking
we're not
about human beings.
we're talking about human beings, and we're not Real Madrid. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
calm down. We're the Real Madrid of Greece. We're not the Real Madrid of Real Madrids.
I
It's just
mean,
like it's
this we're kind of building into this question perfectly. I feel like, yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think obviously the expectations for the Olympiacos are always going to be sky high compared to other clubs in Greece for sure. But you also have teams like Panathinaikos and like Paok who think that they are the biggest team when they're clearly not. And they'll try to apply the same expectations. I mean, that even gets back to the whole Milko Cup thing, which I think is hilarious.
1.1.
Well, I mean, the new Saints have 3, and
I
they almost beat Shamrock.
yeah.
I think the new Saints are going to beat Panathinaikos personally.
Oh, isn't it away?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're losing. They're losing. It's the you were gone, of course. You were taking the well-deserved break that you were, but it's the photo that you sent me that I put up with the. I'm pretty sure you're the one that sent it to me with the Greek uh, banner that the Swedish fans had in the last conference league game of Panathinaikos. It's the I don't even know where to start. I don't. And there is no comment good enough to just put into perspective how embarrassing the reform has truly been.
I mean, I wasn't even watching the first. I didn't start watching Panathinaikos until they were down 2-1 because I was watching Pauk. I thought Pauk had a chance. Stupid me, because I just thought that United are such a meme right now. Apparently not. Um, but, I mean, this is what happens when you talk like that, and this is why And I am victim
It's
of it
karma.
sometimes. It's car. I mean, and to be fair, I've been on the other end of that before. I try not to as much as I can, but it is insane to me how they talked about the conference league all summer long. For the yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, but getting back to Panathinaikos, I mean, you talk like that all summer long, and then you have such an easy schedule. I mean, obviously, aside from Chelsea, Chelsea's a tough match, but I mean, hey, English teams at home, they're not for everybody. We beat a Champions League club last season, but that's neither here nor there. Borac and Djurgården. I mean, Jesus Christ. Those two teams are worse than any team we played in the Conference League last season. The Milko Cup.
Those two teams are worse than half the Greek league teams.
Yeah.
At least I don't really want to disrespect the Swedish teams because honestly, you never know. But Borac, come on.
And Borac, they ended up getting absolutely destroyed by somebody. I have to pull this up so I can remember correctly.
What happened?
Oh, that was bad.
I missed it completely. What happened?
So today they played Sheffield United.
Yeah, I can see that in the comments.
If you can imagine.
Yeah, it's going to my mind, but what happened?
They were holding up, like they typed it out on their phones, and they were holding it up to the Sheffield United fans, saying, "Where is Baldock?"
Just read it.
Scumbags.
I need you to do them in like you do. Who was it? Birmingham. Your 1.2 million views.
Yeah. the FIFA ratings. Some of those. I mean, it's. Speaking of teams that think they're so much bigger than they are.
Paok again.
well, Paok, but I mean, there's so many teams in like the English lower tiers, Birmingham, Sheffield Wednesday, who think that they are just like up here, and it's like you need to tone it down because you guys are comparatively nobody.
This would just be karma for them to just suddenly go to non-league.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that they get a hold of the guy that did it because it's literally on camera. Like this guy's holding it up next to his face. Speaking of stupidity, I mean, I hope that he gets what he's coming to. Anyways, back to Borac. Yeah. I remember that. I mean, that's why I was kind of surprised to see Sheffield United like doing a memorial for him because that's how their fans are.
It's class is above sometimes.
Yeah, it's shocking some of the things that you'll see. But anyways, on a more
back
positive,
to your point, yeah.
Lighthearted note about
a more funny note, yeah.
How embarrassing Panathinaikos are. Borac Banja Luka just lost to Víkingur Reykjavik in the conference league.
You told me that. I forgot. I completely forgot.
This is how bad Panathinaikos are. I mean, they're below FC Noah in the standings. FC Noah, who just lost 8-0.
We spoke. We know how shocked we were.
I don't know if you saw the highlights of that match. It was embarrassing. Like I'm sorry, Ike fans. I don't know how you contrived to lose to that team because they are not good.
It's what I told you more or less. It's not only that they lost; it's how
conceding to the goalkeeper.
Yeah,
who couldn't make a save the other day.
Back to Olympiacos for a point that I was just looking at our bench and I want to make another question to you. We spoke about a bunch of players that will probably go in January, whether that's Oliveira, whether that's Stamenic, whether that's whoever. Surely that's Yaremchuk as well, right?
Yeah. He's useless. He's another guy that I thought he was going to be a huge signing for us. and he's been so bad. He scored in what was his first or second game, and then everything since then. He's just I could be done with him.
I mean, I came up when he came in. I did come on. I don't know if it was with you, if it was without, but I did come on and say that for a player that's been under this much chaos in his life outside of the field and that's been forced to switch so many teams in the span of 3 4 years, we need to be patient up until a point. I did come out and say that, and I still support that we needed to be patient up until like the start of this month, like a good 3 months for him to get.
I, I mean, I think if we didn't have Babis Kostulas, then we would have to keep him because you need to have another player who can play striker. But with Kostulas, I mean, there's just no place. Like I don't think that he's deserved to take minutes away from Babis.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was building up to. But one, that. Two, we need 3 players that can contribute up front. And if that means to sell off or just cut the contract of Yaremchuk and either bring up someone from the very promising attackers that our under 19s have. Once again, I don't know if you've been keeping up with our youth league start, but we did qualify for the next round with an aggregate score of 7-1, winning 5-0 at home.
Who did we play?
I need to see. Give me 1 second. Because to be totally honest, it was a side that I wasn't aware of. It really was a side that I wasn't aware of.
I wonder if that happened while I was in Europe because I completely missed that.
It did. I'm pretty sure it did. At least the first leg where we put 5 past them.
Okay.
George is probably going to say the name of the team before I find it, but I still want to try and find it because I want to see our squad as well. I'm pretty sure I am talking about Silla being brought up as an attacker, but I will confirm that in just a second. But yes, my point is that we do have arguably not the same exact quality of under 19 team that we did, but we are continuing to build on that under 19 team and keep more or less a very good base. And we did play Kalev. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it.
Estonian.
Yeah, Estonian. Thank you. We beat them by 5 here, and we won 1-2 a few days ago. So yeah, I don't see why we don't get rid of the Oliveiras or the Yaremchuks and look at our academy once again.
I mean, I think the biggest issue with those guys is going to be who's going to take on the contract because they're not going to agree to terminate unless we pay it out.
It and is then, Lamin Silla, the attacker we did bring in.
He scored on like the day we signed him. He made his debut, and I think he scored.
He scored and assisted.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't seen him play personally, but from all the things I've heard, he definitely does seem like an exciting prospect. And as a third choice striker, you don't need a lot out of him, so it's worth a punt at the very least.
Both him and Yusuf, who also has 2 goals in 2 games in Europe.
I mean, worth a shot. I mean, you probably only bring one of those guys though, so
yeah, maybe I mostly said either or. That's mostly what
I mean. Maybe they get brought up like over the winter break and train with the team, and Librada gets a look at them. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue with offloading some of these other guys is just going to be the contracts. Because you have to find a team who's going to be willing to pay him that.
Turkey, probably. Saudi. Saudi would take Oliveira.
Yeah, Saudi definitely would. You probably end up at a similar club to like Fortunias, where it's not going to be one of the highline ones, but there's all these random teams that have $1 billion. So hopefully,
There are some talks. I don't usually pay attention or mention talks in general, but there are some talks about a return in January for Kostas Fortounis. So we'll see how that goes.
because he really played very much for them.
He hasn't been amazing, but he's played. Yes,
Okay,
he's needed time fitness wise,
yeah,
mostly
because
because
he
he
didn't
didn't
have a
have a preseason.
yeah.
Also, another player, that's who I was desperately searching for the past 2 minutes, the under 19 captain of last year that is performing amazingly for Panserikos, that people forget we have on loan, a player that performed great against AEK as well, and that of course is Thanasis Koutsogoulas, who is another incredible option to look at. Well, of course, after he comes back from loan. But I don't see why a right back of our academy can come in next year.
Yeah, I mean, I even remember in the Flamengo game, both of our fullbacks, because we played with like a back three, so they're more of wing backs, which fits perfectly with Mendilibar. He likes wide players to get forward. Um, I think this is the beauty of having that golden generation and continuing to have an academy that's churning out young players. It makes your transfer business a lot easier and a lot cheaper. And hopefully, it gets us to a point where we can spend more money on less players because we're bringing up academy talent. That will unlock bigger signings for us because we're not going to have to, compete with a Turkish club and not be able to sign somebody, for example. So, I mean, I think we'll continue to see it. And, it's like you said, it's encouraging that we're continuing to bring young players in, even foreigners, to kind of fill some of those gaps.
We're finally taking our academy seriously. I think that's the main point, of course. Appointing, I don't know how to pronounce French names. I have a bit of a problem with that, but the Montpellier coach, if I'm not mistaken, I still don't know how Marinakis pulled that off, bringing a first team coach down to the academy to replace Silaidopoulos. But yeah, I don't see why the cycle just doesn't continue, especially looking at some players that are more or less ready to come up or out on loan.
Well, and there's also the, you know, front office signing that just made of Edu, who's going to be working on all of the clubs in our
Forgot
group.
about it. Yeah.
That could be, I mean, he could even potentially help, bring in young talent because he's a big name and he's well connected. So there's a lot of encouraging stuff on that front. And I think, us winning the conference league really set a lot of this in motion and it is definitely set us on an upward trajectory to be able to make, um, much bigger moves and be more competitive on a continental stage.
If what I read is true, Marinakis did triple Hector's wages. So I mean
Oh,
that
really?
really
I
shows
didn't
you
I
why
didn't see that part, but he
why
had to do
he's here.
something to get him away from Arsenal.
Yeah. And I am right, he was the Montpellier coach. He did just drag the Montpellier coach to our under 19 team. And I don't know how he did it.
Are they second division in France or are they first again? 'Cause
Montpellier are now, let me actually check that out. I think they're first division, if I'm not that mistaken. If my internet wants to work with
they are.
me.
They're
Yeah.
Ligue 1.
and I am gonna type it in the comments because I really can't pronounce this man's name. Uh, Let me actually not mess it up. Where is it? It is this guy. No, I did mess it up. Well, not the S is supposed to be an A. That's the thing.
Oh, Roman Pitot, I
Yeah,
think. I don't know. I mean, I'm
probably.
not. I'm not great with French either.
Well-known footballer. I just can't pronounce his name for the life of me.
French names, French language. It's tough. I was just there. I know how difficult it is.
Glad to have you back, man. Honestly, very glad to have you back.
It's
And I
good to be
think,
back.
is it?
Yeah, so I didn't want to cut you off, but I was like, yeah, it's good to be back, and it's good to have this match to be the first one we're talking about, because it wouldn't have been very fun if we held three and looked terrible today.
a lot, a lot to look forward to. We'll probably be back with uh, the England game is in 3 days.
If there's no way it's that soon, is it? Let me look.
I think it's in 3 days.
No, it's Thursday.
It's Thursday. Oh yeah, so we'll probably be back around Saturday, probably Friday, Saturday with post game for that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Friday, I might be kind of tied up, but I could probably
Yeah,
do
that
it.
probably Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And of course, I will be back with the EuroLeague shows, which hopefully we are gonna continue being positive for a while in this show. But every time I say that we'll have back-to-back positive shows, something goes horribly wrong.
The
So
Olympiakos
yeah,
experience.
yeah, exactly that. Of course, follow the show anywhere and everywhere you want. All links are down below. If you want to help improve the quality of this show, the Patreon is down below as well. And that's about it. See you all in the next one. And thank you for bearing with us and with me mainly the past few weeks and all my technical issues. Bye bye.
Keep getting through it. Something every time.